For months, Blake Lively has been at the center of one of Hollywood's most talked-about confrontations. A legal war against director Justin Baldoni, which has been a scandal from the beginning. But what no one expected was that her own lawyer would decide to abandon her and, not only that, reveal the exact reasons that could completely destroy Blake's reputation. A multi-million-dollar lawsuit, manipulated messages, documents with hidden information, and behind it all, a powerful figure who can no longer hide his true face. What led a renowned Hollywood lawyer to let the case go as if it were burning her hands? Now everyone is questioning Blake's true role in this conflict and, most importantly, who has been the real victim in this story from the beginning. Stay until the end, because this story just took a brutal turn. It all began when Blake Lively decided to sue Justin Baldoni after her troubled experience during the filming of Errands with Us. The complaint, it was explosive, filled with accusations that painted Baldoni as a manipulator, a creative predator, and even the alleged leader of a smear campaign. For a few days, the world's largest media outlets rallied around Blank. Even the New York Times published an article that seemed more like a public relations piece than an impartial analysis. But then something happened. Baldoni's legal team. She responded, not with empty words, but with evidence. Text messages, behind-the-scenes videos, and documents that contradicted everything Blake had said point by point. Suddenly, the story began to unravel, and the person who felt it most was her own attorney, Mary Konensky. The attorney in charge of representing Blake Lively made a radical decision. She dropped the case, not because of personal differences, but because, according to sources close to her, she discovered that her client hadn't told her the whole truth. Blake had not only withheld key information about what happened on set, but also insulted her, questioned her professional capacity, and avoided paying her fees under questionable excuses. How are you supposed to defend you if you don't even trust her? And how do you expect to win a trial if your own attorney distrusts you? For Konensky, it was a matter of professional integrity. She wasn't going to risk her A-race to defend a case that was hanging on by loose threads and half-truths. With her departure, Blake's house of cards began to crumble faster than she could have imagined. One of the most alarming elements was Blake's use of the press. The article in the New York Times came out at least 24 hours after the lawsuit was filed, with details so specific that it seemed to have been written even before the case became public. A difficult coincidence. Covert. Collaboration increasingly likely. Furthermore, the documents presented by Blake were full of deletions, erased dates, and incomplete testimony, which raised even more doubts about his credibility. The final straw was the discovery that some of the text messages used as evidence were edited and taken out of context to strengthen his narrative. For his part, Baldoni reacted forcefully by filing a $400 million defamation lawsuit against Ryan Reynolds and the New York Times, accusing them of deliberately creating a campaign of public destruction against him. The worst part for Blake is that the evidence was on his side. With his lawyer off the case, Blake's team is in crisis. Now, without a solid strategy and facing a mountain of evidence against him, their only option seems to be to reach an agreement. According to internal sources, Blake's representatives are reportedly trying by all means to bring both parties together to discuss a possible confidential pact. A desperate attempt to put out the fire before it completely consumes his image. But Justin Baldoni isn't interested in a settlement. His lawyer was clear that they're not looking for money. They're looking for justice. They won't allow a powerful figure to destroy reputations with lies just because he can. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds, Blake's husband, has already asked to be excluded from the process, as if he wants to jump ship before it sinks. A clear sign that even for those closest to Blake, the truth has become impossible to deny. Perhaps the most shocking aspect of this whole story isn't in the courts, but at home. While Blake is sinking in accusations, lawsuits, and legal abandonments, Ryan Reynolds seems to be disappearing from the equation. There are no joint statements, no public defense, not a single direct mention of support. And according to several sources, Ryan has asked his legal team to be completely excluded from the case, although his name appears in Baldoni's countersuit. This has raised many suspicions. Is he protecting his image, or does he know something that the rest don't yet know? A source close to the couple sums it up like this. Ryan is in silent mode. He's not going to go down for anyone, not even his wife, and with rumors of a crisis in the relationship, temporary moves, and internal tensions. The collapse doesn't seem only legal or professional, but also personal. Blake Lively has been left without a lawyer, without media support, without allies in the industry, and perhaps also without her own greater support for its own. What began as a legal dispute between a powerful actress and a director has now transformed into a storm that threatens to devastate Blake Lively's career, image, and even her personal stability. Her lawyer no longer represents her. Her closest friends have distanced themselves. Her husband remains silent, and the studios that once relied on her are now watching her cautiously. The narrative that surrounded her for years, that of an elegant, strong, and respected woman, is crumbling. Not because of an isolated scandal, but because of a series of decisions, patterns of behavior, and manipulations that have finally come to light. The most symbolic aspect of all this is that the first to break the siege was her own legal defender. A lawyer who chose the truth over fame, who preferred her professional ethics over protecting someone who, in her words, played with the law as if it were a publicity stunt. Now the world is watching, and the question is not whether Blake Lively will be able to getting out of this. The question is, how much remains of the Blake we thought we knew? Leave us your opinion in the comments. Do you think the actress is being a victim of a system that abandoned her? Or are we seeing the fall of a figure who for years hid behind a carefully constructed image? Subscribe and activate notifications if you want to continue discovering the truth behind Hollywood's most